Good morning, y'all. Happy Tuesday, right? It's Tuesday? Yeah. Yeah, because I got my T-Mobile Tuesdays. So, hello, it's Coach Ro from RocioFlores.com. I'm doing my daily Bible reading. Today we're going to read chapter 7 and chapter 8 of Genesis. It's kind of a low energy day for me today, so I'm just going to get into the reading. Alright, so, chapter 7. Then the Lord said to Noah, "Enter the ark, you and all your household, for I have seen that you alone are righteous before me in this generation. You are to take with you 7 pairs, a male and its female, of all the clean animals, and 2 of the animals that are not clean, a male and its female, and 7 pairs, male and female, of the birds of the sky, in order to keep offspring alive on the face of the whole earth. 7 days from now I will make it rain on the earth 40 days and 40 nights, and I will wipe off from the face of the earth every living thing I have made." And Noah did everything that the Lord commanded him. So remember in the last one, he was like telling him what to do. And this one goes into more detail, like specifically leading up to it. Okay, so we wrote some notes on this, so I'll share that in a moment. 6 is, Noah was 600 years old when the flood came, and water covered the earth. So Noah, his sons, his wife, and his sons' wives entered the ark because of the waters of the flood. From the clean animals, unclean animals, birds, and of every creature that crawls on the ground. 2 of each, male and female, entered the ark with Noah, just as God had commanded him. 7 days later, the waters of the flood came on the earth. So something that we were like doing the math, and we're like, Noah's dad died based on like the time of how old he is and how Noah old and how old he was when he had Noah. He died the same year as Noah, and he's not being listed as going into the ark with Noah. So either he died right before the flood, or he died in the flood. I don't know what to make of that. I just thought it was funny. Not funny, like in a good way, but, you know. Alright, then continuing. 11. In the 600th year of Noah's life, in the 2nd month, on the 17th day of the month, on that day, all the sources of the watery depths burst open, the floodgates of the sky were opened, and the rain fell on the earth 40 days and 40 nights. I do want to point out, the months are different in the Bible than it is like in our world. Calendars have changed, and obviously even in today's world, calendars are not the same in every part of the world. So I didn't like jot down what that time would be in today's, but you can do that math. Like you can figure out what they mean, like what this, what certain months are relating to our calendar. Okay, on that same day, Noah, along with his sons Shem, Ham, and Japheth, Noah's wife, and his 3 sons' wives entered the ark with him. They entered it with all the wildlife according to their kinds, all livestock according to their kinds, the creatures that crawl on the earth according to their kinds, all birds, every fowl, and everything with wings according to their kinds. 2 of all flesh that has the breath of life in it entered the ark with Noah. Now, we've read into, or we follow some other people who are like biblical people who talk about this, and they said there's a distinction with the fact that it specifically states the animals that have the breath of life in them, and that accounts for what specific animals were and weren't taken in, and what that means as far as the type of creatures. You'd have to look into that yourself, or if it comes up later on, I might go into it. I'd have to look at it again. But I just remember like we read that, and I'm like, really, it says that? And I had to go back and be like, oh, it says specifically that has the breath of life in it. So again, a lot of times people like make articles, or they make theologists, they're talking about this, and that, and so it's kind of interesting to see how they come to certain conclusions based on very specific things that are said in the Bible. So it's good to know where that is. Okay, those that enter, male and female of all flesh, enter just as God had commanded him. Then the Lord shut him in. The flood continued for 40 days on the earth. The waters increased and lifted up the ark so that it rose above the earth. The waters surged and increased greatly on the earth, and the ark floated on the surface of the water. Then the waters surged even higher on the earth, and all the high mountains under the whole sky were covered. The mountains were covered as the water surged above them more than 20 feet. Every creature perished, those that crawl on the earth, birds, livestock, wildlife, and those that swarm on the earth, as well as all mankind. Everything with the breath of the spirit of life in its nostrils, everything on dry land, that one's like sectioned off, everything on dry land died. Hello. Sending hi to the people. He wiped out every living thing that was on the surface of the ground, from mankind to livestock to creatures that crawl to the birds of the sky, and they were wiped off the earth. Only Noah was left, and those that were with him in the ark, and the water surged on the earth 150 days. I have like little notes written when I was reading, like, what is it? What am I trying to say there? I think I drew little pictures on mine. I drew little pictures, and I'm like, I don't ever look at those little pictures unless I read what it says to understand what the pictures are. So I gotta get better at that. Okay, chapter 8. God remembered Noah, as well as all the wildlife and all the livestock that were with him in the ark. God caused a wind to pass over the earth, and the water began to subside. The sources of the watery depths and the floodgates of the sky were closed, and the rain from the sky stopped. The water steadily receded from the earth, and by the end of the 150 days, the waters had decreased significantly. The ark came to rest in the 7th month, on the 17th day of the month, on the mountains of Ararat. The waters continued to recede until the 10th month. In the 10th month, on the 1st day of the month, the tops of the mountains were visible. After 40 days, Noah opened the window of the ark that he had made, and he sent out a raven. It went back and forth until the waters had dried up from the earth. Then he sent out a dove to see whether the waters on the earth's surface had gone down, but the dove found no resting place for her foot. She returned to him in the ark because water covered the surface of the whole earth. He reached out and brought her into the ark to himself. So Noah waited 7 more days and sent out the dove from the ark again. When the dove came to him at evening, there was a plucked olive leaf in her beak. So Noah knew that the waters on the earth's surface had gone down. After he had waited another 7 days, he sent out the dove, but she did not return to him again. In the 601st year, in the 1st month, on the 1st day of the month, the water that had covered the earth was dried up. Then Noah removed the ark's cover and saw that the surface of the ground was drying. By the 27th day of the 2nd month, the earth was dry. So, hello, hi. There's actually a lot of theories on this, and it kind of depends. And in my Bible, it's actually right here, in this section right here. It goes into like the whole young earth versus old earth creationist theories, and the different kinds of like theories on evolution and stuff like that. Because there's a lot of, well, I mean, obviously there's like a lot of, I don't know, drama within the theological realm and people outside of it. So obviously people who are like against the Bible they look at these stories, specifically these kind of like stories from the beginning, and they'll like, there's a lot of criticism because it's like, there's no way that could have happened. Well, yeah, a lot of the Bible is like incredibly miraculous and big. And so personally I like this Bible because it goes into like specific, like the difference between young earth creationists, old earth creationists, people who don't believe in any of those theories, and people who kind of believe in more new age theories. And so it kind of leaves a little bit of that room for you to be the person who chooses which one you want to believe. But it still comes back to like, are you coming back to the Bible and what it says? For example, like I have written down on here, because from a different training a different like course that we took, it was talking about how specifically doves can travel 600 miles without landing. And so there's like people who believe that the flood was a local flood, but within the context of the original language that this was written, the word that they used for whole earth meant a definition of the whole earth for them at the time. So how they defined geological locations. And so then you got to look into like, in either case, the way I see it is there a possibility that it can make sense within either one, so that I don't have to think about which one's the correct one. I could just be like, these people are coming from these perspectives. Because I don't think it's one of those points where you're like, well, if this is absolutely incorrect, then I can't believe in it. Then on the other hand, there's a lot of arguments that go one way or the other. And so then there's things to like, you definitely shouldn't believe. And then there's things that like, it doesn't really matter which stance you take. And then there's things like, it really matters what stance you take. So it's just kind of interesting to look at and know that there are people who are fighting about this stuff, even within the believing world, right? And so obviously the people who don't believe are also going to be arguing about it. But even within that world, they're arguing about different aspects. So it's good to just know that there's lots of things that could come from just this tiny little section that we're reading today. Okay, let me just read the last little bit and then we're done. Okay. Oh, this is the pretty part. Then God spoke to Noah. Come out of the ark, your wives, your sons, and your sons' wives with you. Bring out all the living creatures that are with you, birds, livestock, those that crawl on the ground, and they will spread over the earth and be fruitful and multiply on the earth. So Noah, along with his sons, his wife, and his sons' wives came out. all wildlife, all livestock, every bird, and every creature that crawls on the earth came out of the ark by their groups. Then Noah built an altar to the Lord. He took some of every kind of clean animal and every kind of clean bird and offered a burnt offering on the altar. When the Lord smelt the pleasing aroma, he said to himself, I will never again curse the ground because of man, even though man's inclination is evil from his youth, and I will never again strike down every living thing as I have done. As long as the earth endures, seed time and harvest, cold and heat, summer and winter, and day and night will not cease. So I know you've all probably heard of like the rainbow and stuff like that. And you know when you're a kid, they teach you the story, and it's in a very like cutesy, like they went out, there was a rainbow, all's good. There's a lot of little things in there that don't sound that good, like man's inclination to evil, and just like burnt offerings and stuff like that. We gotta understand that the world back then was very different, and something like sacrifice was very normal, and this is before people specifically believed in any specific god. They were just in all the different gods. It was very normal part of like tradition for people to do these things, and this is like way back in the day. And even in like our culture, not our culture, but like our history of what we know of humanity, humans have been doing this stuff for a long time, and even after. And so it sounds very like wrong to us in our world, but it's very normal, I guess, back in their day. So probably when they were writing this, it didn't even like face them to think that this was happening. So I know in today's world we're like, oh my god, but you know, we're a lot kinder to animals these days. So and the purpose has changed a lot too. So it actually goes into a lot more of this, and you can look more into that. Like if you Google, I would go, be careful with what kind of websites you go to, but you know, look up like why did people used to sacrifice animals, and what did it mean, and how is it different for it to happen under God versus other gods, versus people who just did it for other reasons, right? So look that up. That's enough for today. Yeah, I'm like losing my breath because my nose is ugh. I am hate when I wake up kind of tired and my throat hurts and everything. So yeah, all right guys, I will get back on tomorrow, and tomorrow we'll continue, and yeah, I will post this on my YouTube as always at bit.ly Rose Daily Bible Reading. I think that's the full bit link. If not, just go to my highlights, and under faith, it's the last highlight right now. You just swipe up and it takes you straight to that. Alright guys, you guys have a wonderful rest of your day. If you're on T-Mobile, make sure you go get your free stuff, and yeah, peace out.